How to Avoid a Climate Disaster. By Bill Gates. 5 questions to ask in every climate conversation. Climate change can be a complex topic to understand. To simplify it, I came up with 5 questions that can help us cut through the clutter. 1. How much of the 51 billion tons are we talking about? The first question is, how much of the 51 billion tons of greenhouse gases are we talking about? We should always convert the amount into a percentage of the annual total to understand its significance. The second question is whether the number is likely to go up or stay the same. This is important because we need to know if there is potential for significant reduction in emissions. At Breakthrough Energy, we fund technologies that could remove at least 500 million tons a year. This is roughly 1% of global emissions, and technologies that don't exceed 1% shouldn't compete for limited resources. The third question is whether the technology or program is scalable. It's important to know if it has the potential to reduce emissions on a larger scale. The fourth question is the cost of the solution. We need to know how much it will cost to implement and whether it's worth the investment. Finally, the fifth question is whether the solution has co-benefits. Does it have additional benefits, such as improving air quality or creating jobs? By asking these 5 questions, we can better understand the significance of climate solutions and make informed decisions. 2. What's your plan for cement? A comprehensive plan to address climate change should consider all activities contributing to greenhouse gas emissions. The production of steel and cement alone contributes to around 10% of all emissions. It's time to target all 5 categories to achieve zero emissions. Making electricity accounts for just over a quarter of all emissions. Clean electricity is a crucial step in the process of achieving zero emissions. 3. How much power are we talking about? To put things in perspective, a small incandescent bulb uses 40 watts, and power plants generate hundreds of millions to billions of watts. The world requires 5,000 gigawatts, and the United States needs 1,000 gigawatts. A mid-sized city requires 1 gigawatt, and an average American house consumes 1 kilowatt. Understanding power capacity is essential to guarantee reliable electricity. Remember to associate kilowatt with house, gigawatt with city, and 100 or more gigawatts with a big country. 4. How much space do you need? The power density, measured in watts per square meter, determines the power output per unit of land or water. Solar power has higher density than wind, and choosing between them depends on their distinct spatial needs. When evaluating claims about a specific energy source meeting global energy needs, it's crucial to inquire about the space required for energy production. This applies to various sources like wind, solar, or nuclear power. 5. How much is this going to cost? Moving to zero-emission energy technologies will cost something, and most of these solutions are more expensive than their fossil fuel counterparts. Green premiums are the additional costs of these zero-carbon solutions. A green premium is the difference between the cost of a dirty source and a clean source of essentially the same thing. For instance, advanced biofuels for jets cost on average $5.35 per gallon, while the average retail price for a gallon of jet fuel in the United States is $2.22, making the green premium for zero-carbon fuel $3.13. Trade-offs are necessary when considering how much we're willing to pay to go green. By figuring out green premiums for all the big zero-carbon options, we can start having serious conversations about it. The importance of green premiums. Green premiums can be compared to a problem Melinda and I faced in global health. We needed to know what caused children's deaths to identify innovations that could save lives. Similarly, green premiums can show us the cost of zero carbon tools and innovations that can make the biggest impact on emissions. Just as data helped us identify the need for the pneumo vaccine. However, we face a challenge when there's no direct green equivalent. For instance, there's no zero carbon cement yet. So, how can we estimate the cost of a green solution in such cases? Green premiums are essential for measuring progress towards a zero carbon future. Is direct air capture the solution? DAC is an unproven and expensive technology. But if it can work at a large scale, it would allow us to capture carbon dioxide no matter when or where it was produced. To figure out the cost, we need two data points: the amount of global emissions and the cost of absorbing emissions using DAC. The emissions number is 51 billion tons each year. Removing a ton of carbon from the air costs at least $100. So, the DAC approach would cost at least $5.1 trillion per year. DAC is an enormous sum, but it's cheaper than reducing emissions by shutting down sectors of the economy. In some cases, it will be cheaper not to emit greenhouse gases in the first place. Although DAC is an interesting thought experiment, it's not ready for global deployment. We'd need to build more than 50,000 DAC plants around the world just to manage the emissions we're producing right now. DAC is not a quick fix. We can't just wait for future technology to save us. We have to start saving ourselves today.